Hello everyone, this is Vasanta, degree lecturer in chemistry from Telangana Tribal Welfare Residential Degree College, Women, Nizamabad, and I would like to explain coordination compounds. And content in coordination compounds, I'm going to cover four different theories. In that first one, Werner's theory, second one, Sidgwick's theory, third one, valence bond theory, and fourth one, crystal field theory. Coordination compounds. Coordination compounds have been known since the beginning of modern chemistry. Many theories were developed to understand their properties and bonding and geometries, etc. Coordination chemistry mainly depends on four theories that are Werner's theory and Sidgwick's theory, valence bond theory, and crystal field theory. In that, I'm going to first one, Werner's theory. It is introduced by Alfred Wegener in 1893. He was awarded Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1913 for this theory, and he was able to explain the nature of bonding in coordination compounds. According to this theory, metal exhibits two types of valencies. In that, first one is primary valency and the second one is secondary valency. So what is the primary valency? Primary valency represents the oxidation state of central metal atom, and it is ionizable and non-directional. Primary valency denoted by dotted lines, and the next one is secondary valency. And secondary valency represents the coordination number, and it is non-ionizable and directional. Secondary valency denoted by thick lines. So this is about the primary valency and the secondary valency. Next, the metal ion tends to satisfy both primary and secondary valencies. Primary valency is satisfied by negative ions, and whereas secondary valency is satisfied by negative ions or neutral ions. In certain cases, negative ions may satisfy both type of valencies. The scientist Alfred Wegener is observed by adding the silver nitrate to the different coordination compounds, and different forms of AgCls are formed. Based on this, he gave different structure of the coordination compounds. And he took this cobalt 3 chloride with ammonia. To this he added AgNO3. He observed in one case forms 1 mole of AgCl, another case forms 2 moles of 2 moles of AgCl, and other case forms 3 moles of AgCl. So based on this, he gave structures to the coordination compounds. I'll take one complex. The IUPAC name of this complex is hexaamine cobalt 3 chloride. Okay, this is the IUPAC name of this complex, and this complex dissolved in water. Okay, so this complex, when dissolved in water, the three chlorines are in this complex. Three chlorines are there in outer sphere. These three chlorines comes out from this complexes when dissolved in water, and these three chlorines are then react with silver nitride, then forms 3 moles of AgCl. In next condition, this has happened in first condition, and the next condition, CO NH3 5 Cl Cl2. This is the complex and dissolved in water. When this complex dissolved in water, these two chlorines in this complex, these two chlorines are comes out from this complex, and then these two chlorines are reacted with silver nitride, then form 2 moles of AgCl. This happened in second condition. In third condition, cobalt NH4Cl2 Cl. This complex dissolved in water. So this complex, when dissolved in water, this one chlorine comes out from this complex, and this one chlorine then react with silver nitrate, then forms 1 mole of AgCl. In last condition, cobalt NH3Cl3, this complex dissolved in water, same compound is formed, and next this compound react with silver nitrate, there is a no moles of AgCls are formed. So based on this, he Why we got like this, and he got an idea about the structure of coordination compounds. In first condition, COCl3 6NH3. In this, 6 ammonias are there and 3 chlorines are there. So in this, 6 ammonias are satisfied by secondary valency, and the coordination number of this complex is plus 3, plus 6, sorry, plus 6, and 3 chlorines. And 3 chlorines satisfied by primary valency, and the oxidation state of this complex is plus 3. So in 6 ammonias are in thick lines and 3 chlorines are in dotted lines. This is about the first structure. And the second structure, COCl3 5 NH3s. So in that 5 ammonias are satisfied by secondary valency, and 2 chlorines are satisfied by primary valency, left 1 chlorine satisfied by both primary valency as well as secondary valency. In that, 5 ammonias are in thick lines and 2 chlorines are in dotted lines, and left 1 chlorine is present in dotted and thick lines. And the next one, COCl3 4 NH3. In this, 4 NH3s are satisfied by secondary valency, and 2 chlorines are satisfied both primary valency as well as secondary valency, and left 1 chlorine satisfied by primary valency. In this, 4 ammonias are thick lines, and the 2 chlorines are dotted and thick lines, and left 1 chlorine is dotted line. And next, COCl3 3NH3. In this, 3 ammonias are satisfied by secondary valency, and 3 chlorines are satisfied by both primary valency as well as secondary valency. And this is about the Werner's theory. And the next one, Sedgwick's theory. Sedgwick's theory, introduced by Neville V. Sedgwick in 1927. According to Sedgwick theory, complex stability predicted. The complex having effective atomic number is numerically equal to the atomic number of noble gases in the same period. That complex is more stable. So what he said, the atomic number of complex effective atomic number, the complex effective atomic number is equal to the atomic number of noble gases, thus that complex is more stable. And effective atomic number, what is the effective atomic number? The total number of electrons present around the central metal ion in a complex, that is the effective atomic number. And in that effective atomic number, there is a one formula. And what is that? The formula for effective atomic number is atomic number minus oxidation state plus 2 into coordination number. This is the formula for effective atomic number. And next I will take one example, FeCN6 4 minus. FeCN6 4 minus, in that I calculate effective atomic number. So according to formula, atomic number of metal in this complex, iron is a metal. The iron atomic number is 26, and oxidation state, so oxidation state of iron in this complex is plus 2. That's why 26 and minus 2, plus into minus minus, so 26 minus 2. And according to formula, atomic number minus oxidation number plus 2, so 26 minus 2 plus 2 into coordination number, and coordination number of uh, iron in this complex is 6. Why? Because there are 6 cyanides are there, so this the coordination number of this complex is 6, and totally equal to 36. And 36 is an atomic number of krypton. Okay, so that's why this complex is more stable. Why? Because effective atomic number of this complex is 36. 36 is a atomic number of noble gas. That's why this complex is more stable. And next one, PdNH3 6 4 minus 4 plus, sorry, PdNH3 6 4 plus, and this is the complex, and I calculate the effective atomic number of this complex. Effective atomic number is equal to, and atomic number of this palladium is 46, and oxidation state of palladium in this complex is plus 4, or plus into minus according to formula, plus into minus is minus, so 46 minus 4 plus 2 into coordination number. Coordination number of this complex is 6. Why? Because There are six ammonias are there. That's why the coordination number of this complex is 6 and totally equal to 54. 54 is a atomic number of xenon. So this complex also more stable. Why? Because the effective atomic number of this complex is equal to the atomic number of noble gas. That's why this complex also more stable. Next, limitations of Sedgwick's theory. There are some limitations. Let's see water. First one, some of the stable complex compounds do not obey effective atomic number rule. So that could, so some complexes not follow effective atomic number rule. So I'll see first. I'll take one example. FeCN6 3 minus. FeCN6 3 minus effective atomic number is 35, but it is a stable. So this complex is not obey EN rule, but this complex is stable. That's why this is one of the limitation. And the next one is some of the complex compounds which obey EN rule and not as stable as expected. So in that I'll take two examples, FeCN6 4 minus, one example, and the next one is FeCN6 3 minus. The effective atomic number of first complex is 36 and the next complex is 35. But first one is less stable and the next one is more stable. So in that first one is obey EN rule, but second one is not obey EN rule. But this is the more stable. Second one is more stable than the first one. That's why this is the limitation. So these are the limitations of Sedgwick's theory. Okay, this is about the Sedgwick's theory. And the next one, Wallace-Bourne theory. Wallace-Bourne theory, introduced by Pauling in 1931, has developed valence band theory to explain the nature of bonds in coordination compounds, vacant metal orbitals involved in hybridization to give hybrid orbitals and is equal to its coordination number. Next, and ligand field orbitals overlap with metal hybrid orbitals and providing geometry of a complex. And the next, if ND orbitals are involved in the hybridization, the complex is called as outer orbital complexes. What he said, ND orbitals are involved, that is the outer orbital complex. And the next, if N-1d orbitals are involved in hybridization, that is inner orbital complex. If N-1d orbitals are involved, that is the inner orbital complex. And the next, according to Valence-Bourne theory, ligand requires at least one lone pair of electrons. Ligand requires at least one lone pair. Let I take one example, cobalt F6 3 minus. In that, cobalt electronic configuration is 3d 7 4s2. But first we have to find out the oxidation state of cobalt in this complex. Cobalt oxidation state is +3 in this complex. Why? Because there is a fluorine. Fluorine is a weak ligand and monodentate ligand. Monodentate ligand so donate only one electrons to the metal atom. So this is the monodentate ligand. And the cobalt oxidation state is +3. In +3 oxidation state, the electronic configuration of cobalt is 3d 6 4s0. So let next orbitals 3d 5 and the 4s and the 4p and the 4d. In that first I'll I'll fill electrons 3d 6 and 3 d orbitals. In the 3d orbitals 6 electrons are there. So 6 electrons are filled. First dxy 5d orbitals are there and the p already we all know d orbitals are 5 and the s orbital is 1 and the p orbitals are 3 and also 4d orbitals, d orbitals are 5. So 5d orbitals are dxy, dyz, dzx and dx square, y square and dz square. These are the d or 5d 3d orbitals and the s orbital is 4s s0 and the next p orbitals px and py and the p. These are the py orbitals. First one, there are 3d 6 electrons are there. First electron dxy and the second dyz dzx and dx square y square and dz square and the left one electrons comes in dxy orbital. This is the way of filling of electrons. And next, fluorine is a six, and there are six fluorines are there. So fluorines are donate electrons to the metal. So fluorine donate six electrons. So one to the 4s orbitals, and the 3 to the 4p orbitals, and 2 to the d orbitals, dxy and dyz. So that's why s and p3 and d2. There are six ligands, that's why donate six orbitals. So s and p3 d2. The hybridization of this complex is sp3 d2. And next, geometry. And geometry of this complex based on number of ligands and the hybridization. So number of ligands are 6 and the hybridization is sp3d2. That's why the geometry of this complex is octahedral. And next, magnetic nature. Magnetic nature based on unpaired electrons. Unpaired electrons is there, that is the paramagnetic. Paired electrons are there, that is the diamagnetic. But in this complex, unpaired electrons are there, that's why this is the paramagnetic in nature. And the next one, outer orbital complexes. This is the outer orbital complex. Why? Because this in this complex, outer orbitals are involved. N d orbitals are involved. N minus 1 d orbitals are not involved. So that's why this is outer orbital complex. And the next, spin multiplicity. Multiplicity of this complex is high spin. Why? Because there are more number of unpaired electrons are there. That's why this is the high spin complex. So only one paired orbital is there. Left four orbitals in only unpaired electrons are there. That's why more number of unpaired electrons are there. That's why this is the high spin complex. Limitations. Next, limitations of valence bond theory. And first one, ligand requires at least one lone pair of electron. And next, this is no, there is a no proper explanation about inner and outer orbital complexes, and there does not explain about stability and color properties of complexes. So there is a no explanation about the color properties and the stability. Okay. And next one, the valence bond theory unable to predict coordination number 4 complexes. Coordination number 4 complex is a tetrahedral or spiroplanar. There is a no clarity about that. That's why this is also one of the limitation. And this is about the valence bond theory. Next, crystal field theory. Crystal field theory. It is introduced by Van Vleck and Hans Bethe. And the crystal field theory successfully explains the drawbacks of valence bond theory. And according to crystal field theory, there is a no bonding between metal and ligand, but providing electrostatic force of attraction. It is a 100% ionic character with absence of transfer of electrons. And in this crystal field theory, in crystal field theory, we basically understand about the d orbitals. But s orbitals in spherical in shape, and the p orbitals in double in shape. There are three p orbitals, px and the py and pz, and d orbitals. There are basically 5d orbitals. The name of those 5d orbitals are dxy, dyz, and dzx, dx square, y square, and dz square. In normal metal, and when there is no complex form. In simple metal, all 5d orbitals are degenerate. These terms are very important. Degenerate means the energy is similar, their energy is similar. They all are similar in energies. That's why we called as degenerate. In simple metal, all the 5d orbitals are similar energy, but this is the not in the case of complexes. First of all, uh, let's understand the how this orbital looks. So here dxy and dyz, dzx, and in this three orbitals lies in between the axis. So the orbital in dxy, dxy, in dxy orbitals, the lobes are arranged in between the axis x and y axis. In between the lobe is arranged x and y middle. So this is the in between the axis, and dy in dz also the lobes are arranged in between the axis, and dy and dz dx in that also the lobes are arranged in between the axis. Okay, and this is very important to understand. Rest two orbitals dx square y square and dz square, these two orbitals lies on the axis. Dx square y square orbitals lies x axis on x axis and y axis, and dz square orbitals lies on z axis. But many of you might know and many of you don't know, but I would like to share that there are not 5d orbitals, actually there are 60 orbitals. So let's see the 60 orbitals are dxy, dyz, dzx, dx square, y square. We already know the left dy square, z square and dx square, z square. These last two orbitals are combined to give dz square orbital. The size of the lobe along the z-axis will increases due to the why, because the combined form, this is the combined form d y square z square d and x square z square. That's why the lobe along the z-axis will increases. The size of lobe around the x and y axis. So the lobe x and y axis also have lobes, but in smaller in size, shown by circles. That's why that's how we get 5d orbitals. Right? This is very important to understand that two orbitals lies on the axis and other three orbitals lies in between the axis. Now three orbitals are lies in between the axis. So these three orbitals are repel together and attracted together when we talk about the octahedral and tetrahedral complexes. And next, d orbitals splitting in octahedral complexes. D orbitals normally for free ion. D orbitals in free ion degenerate. So why these 5d orbitals in similar energy? That's why we call as degenerate. These 5d orbitals are similar in energy, but when ligand approaches to the metal, these 5d orbitals in excited, the energy will be increases. So when ligand approaches, the energy will increases due to the repulsions from the ligand. So these 5d orbitals are in excited state, that is the state 2. In this, the 5d orbitals are in excited. These five excited 5d orbitals, the 5d orbitals we all know dxy and dyz, dzx, dx square, y square and dz square. These 5d orbitals, and then in when we talk about the octahedral complexes, octahedral complexes ligand approaches in bit along the axis. Okay, in octahedral complexes ligand approaches along the axis. That's why dx square, y square and dz square orbitals repelled more than compared to the dxy and the dyz and dzx orbitals. So this dx square, y square and dz square orbitals have more energy than compared to the dxy, yz and zx orbitals. These two orbitals dx square, y square, dz square orbitals have more energy. Why? Because the in octahedral complexes ligand approaches along the axis or on the axis. That's why these two orbitals are repelled more and they have more energy. The name of these orbitals are we represent this dxy and dyz dzx orbitals. The name of these three orbital is T to G. Why? Because this is the triply degenerate. That's why we represent T2 and the Giret. And Giret is in octahedral structure. The structure of octahedra is spherical. That's why the parity is Giret. That's why we represent T to G. And next, dx square y square dz square. The name of these two orbital is Eg. These two are doubly degenerate. That's why this is E. We represent E, and the parity is zeroed. Why? Because octahedral structure is spherical. That's why this is the zeroed. So this is name of Et to J and Eg. And next, the energy difference between the two orbitals T to J and Eg is known as crystal field stabilizing energy. The energy difference between two orbitals known as a crystal field stabilizing energy, and represented by delta in octahedra O. Delta O in octahedral complexes, crystal field stabilizing energy represented by delta O. And there are some each one have different value. T2 have some value, and the Eg level also some value, and T2G is the 0.4 and the Eg value is 0.6. This is about the d orbital splitting in octahedral complexes. And next, I'll take one example, nickel F6 3-. And normally electronic configuration of nickel is 3d8 4s0. But in the case of this complex, nickel have +3 oxidation state. So in +3 oxidation state, the electronic configuration of nickel is 3d7 4s0. This is the electronic configuration of nickel. And so in the d orbital 7 electrons are there. So these 7 electrons are filling, and dxy have 2 electrons, dyz have 2 electrons, dzx have 1 electron, dx square y square have 1 electrons, and the dz square also have 1 electrons. The filling of electrons one by one. Why? Because this is the weak field ligand. Okay. And next, these two orbitals, this is the octahedral complex. That's why T2 Eg level have more energy and T2G level have less energy. But filling of electrons in T2J and Eg, first fill the lower orbitals and then fill the higher orbitals. First dxy 1 electrons and dyz 1 electrons, dz square dxz 1 electrons, and then dx square y square 1 electron, dz square 1 electrons, and next left 2 electrons are fill again dxy 1 electron and dyz also 1 electron. Like this filling. Why? Because fluorine is the weak field ligand. And next, I'll calculate crystal field stabilizing energy. And crystal field stabilizing energy, first I'll take each level. In each level, 2 electrons are there. That's why 2 into the energy of the Eg level is 0.6. That's why 2 into 0.6 plus, and then T2G level. And in T2G level 5 electrons are there. So 5 into the energy of the T2G level is 0 minus 0.4. So 5 into minus 0.4. And next add is equal to 2 into 0.6 is equal to 1.2 plus 5 into minus 0.4 is equal to minus 2.0. And totally the crystal field stabilizing energy of nickel F6 3- is minus 0.8 delta O. Okay, this is about the d orbital splitting in octahedral complexes. And the next one, d orbital splitting of tetrahedral complexes. In tetrahedral complex, same d orbitals for free ion, d orbitals are degenerate for free ion. And when ligand approaches to the metal, the energy of the d orbitals increases. So the 5d orbitals are in excited state. The 5d orbitals are we all know, and dxy and the dyz and dzx and dx square y square and dz square. These 5d orbitals are excited state. Due to the repulsions from the ligand, the energy will increases. Okay, and these 5d orbitals then splits into two different levels. But when we talk about the tetrahedral complexes, in tetrahedra, the ligands are approaches in between the axis. Okay, in tetrahedral complexes, the ligands are approaches in between the axis. That's why dxy and dyz in dzx orbitals are repelled more, and so they have more energy when compared to the dx square y square and dz square orbitals. Why? Because tetrahedral complex is in tetrahedral complex the ligands are in between the axis. That's why dxy and dyz ZX orbitals repelled more and they have more energy than compared to the dx square, y square and dz square orbitals. The name of these three orbitals, dx and dyz, dzx orbital is T2. Why? Because these three orbitals are in triply degenerate, that's why we represent T2. And the next, dx square, y square and dz square orbitals are doubly degenerate, that's why we represent E. And in this tetrahedral complex, there is a no parity. Why? Because tetrahedral structure is not a spherical, that's why there is a no parity. That's why we called as only T2 and E level. There is a no zero, there is a no parity. And next, the energy difference between the T2 and E is called as crystal field stabilizing energy. And crystal field stabilizing energy denoted by in tetrahedral complexes delta T. And also each one have different values. T2 have 0.4 and the E have minus 0.6 values. Okay, this is about the splitting of tetrahedral complex. And next, I'll take one example, chromium Cl4 2 minus. And this is the one complex. In that, normally chromium electronic configuration is 3d4 4s2. But in the case of this complex, the oxidation state of chromium is plus 2. In plus 2 condition, chromium have electronic configuration is 3d4 4s0. Okay, and so there are 4d electrons are there. In d orbitals 4 electrons are there. So chlorine is also weak field ligand. So the filling of electrons are dxy orbital have one electron, dyz have one electron and dzx have one electron, dx square y square have one electrons. Okay, and next these 5d orbitals are split into two different energy levels, that is T2 and E. But filling of electrons in splitting level, first fill lower orbitals, then fill higher orbitals. In lower orbital, dx square y square have one electron and dz square have one electron, and then fill to the higher orbitals. Dxy have one electrons and dyz have one electron. This is the filling of this is the way to filling of electrons. And next, I calculate crystal field stabilizing energy. In that, first we calculate T2 level. In T2 level, 2 electrons are there. So 2 into the value of T2 is 0.4. So 2 into 0.4 plus, and next E level. And in that also have 2 electrons. So 2 into 0 minus 0.4 is the energy of the E level. So minus 0.4. And next 2 into 0.4 is 0.8 plus 2 into minus 0.6 is a minus 1.2, and totally equal to crystal field stabilizing energy of this complex is equal to minus 0.4 delta T. Okay, and this is about the uh, crystal field splitting, d orbital splitting in tetrahedra complexes. And thank you. So this is the class of 4 different theories in coordination compounds. I hope it is understandable, and I especially thanks to secretary sir for giving me this opportunity, and thank you one and all.